of a funnel cloud over the South Peabody-Salem area. Does not appear to have touched down or anything, but you did see rotation and a funnel cloud aloft. We'll see if that actually makes it to the surface or not. The other big issue, and right now the bigger issue, is flooding issues. Route 62 in Danvers, I believe it was near the Maple Street area, is becoming flooded and impassable. There are other street flooding reports in parts of Lowell, where UMass Lowell had 2.12 inches of rain from the storm so far. Also reports of flooding in the Billerica area as well. So the flooding is we want to not underestimate that, and we are watching to see what happens with the funnel cloud that was detected in the area of South Peabody heading towards Salem. Does that touch down or not will be the question. Are trying to track that and see what happens with that, along with the flooding issues.
You make a great point there, Bob. Obviously, our primary concern is the tornado potential and the possible tornado that could be on the ground in the Peabody area, also the one back towards the Wilmington area as well. But the secondary concern and the result that happened from it, and you're getting countless reports of street flooding. In this pattern, obviously we just got through the month of June, saw about 10 inches of rain, Rob, and a lot of the root systems, they're softened up. Some of the roadways, they're softened up too. They could get compromised. Have you had reports over the last several days in these downpours, or any today, of road washouts or sinkholes, etc.?
Well, earlier today, we did have some of those issues out in the Westfield, Mass area in terms of road damage from flooding. Certainly a few days ago up in Surrey, New Hampshire, there were issues up at Route 12 from the we had a couple of issues with that. We've been fairly lucky here in Massachusetts, not so lucky up in parts of New Hampshire here over the last couple days. Yes, there are some weakened root structures. Yesterday, a storm that appeared to produce estimated winds of around 40 miles per hour did down a few trees and wires, and I think the rainfall and the softened ground a little with that as well here.
Getting to the flooding, what do you recommend and what do you pass along to folks when they encounter a way that is unpassable or at least what do you say?
Don't drown these storms that are over the area. If you see the rain over you, if you head down, that's bad. Try to the areas if you can. I know that can be hard, but there's a couple of things that we would suggest here. It's been a very active day. Definitely the most active so far this summer.
Okay, so again, Rob, you have a funnel cloud. No evidence that it touched down. That's a funnel. That's
no damage. So we'll see how that here over the next and if any reports, and of course, if it's reports, we'll have to see whether how extent it is, and it could just be minor wind damage. Or more if we any of the reports. So they're not getting information as quickly as we can. We also have to be careful in that it takes a while sometimes to kind of fully understand the scope of the damage areas as they happen.
Rob Macedo, Sky One Spotter Network, thanks again for joining us. You've been with us all afternoon long, and we'll talk to you again soon with any updated information that you have. These are pictures coming into us from Fitchburg, up on Route 2. Torrential rain, the result, street flooding. It's hard to say how deep that is. Looks like it's about a wheel well deep, probably 1 or 2 feet of water there on the ground on that roadway, and obviously creating very dangerous driving conditions and tough driving conditions. It's going to be a long afternoon. Again, the flooding is a secondary concern, but it is a big one because it actually affects more people than just this small-scale circulation. The problem is these small-scale circulations can be the deadly ones, can be the very dangerous ones, the destructive ones. So once again, tornado warning in effect until 4:15 for the storm back to our west and 4:30 for this storm right here. Salem Neck and Salem Harbor and before half an hour ago, we had a cell that came up north side of Cape Ann, the north side of Cape Ann. This looks like it's going to hug the south side of Cape Ann. Well, Manchester by the sea, I expect Gloucester and Gloucester Harbor to have some issues perhaps, and we'll keep an eye on this as this continues off to the north and west. This is Route 128, obviously. It's the main thoroughfare from the interior parts of Mass all the way out through Cape Ann. You know, the roadways shrinks up a little bit down to 1 and 2 lanes, but still, that's the main thoroughfare. But you've got 127, that kind of hugs and mirrors the coastline, goes out through Manchester by the sea. Once again, beautiful beaches here this time of the year where people are getting their vacations. It's 4th of July, that's later in the week. We've got 4th of July, we had school the last week, it was snow, we had past winter. But family, and this is a popular destination for families to go. If you know folks that are up in this area, they've probably already been soaked one time, so hopefully they're indoors and hopefully they can get to a safe place more readily than if they were on the beach. But just to be safe, if you know folks that are up here on some of these beautiful beaches up here, give them a call on the cell phone, tell them what's bearing down them. A nasty storm capable of producing a Paula Eben.
Well, just you and say, Todd, that skyward spotters on road lighting issue just can't drive because it can be very dangerous in some towns. Wind roaring, trees of leaf tree limbs. In this situation, you're thinking tunnel cloud, the water view potentially.
Lowell had 2 inches rain recorded, 2.25 inches of rain coming down hours. Those rains are continuing. Look at the radar again. Length of Boston going up to the Cape Ann area, and again Salem right now. This has been coming through Beverly, parts of Marlin, and is hugging this wild. Two different points, one to the left, and the other one was this to a warning itself, and that's the second one, which will go until 4:30. So be very mindful. The other should be ending in the next 4 or 5 minutes. That's the one to the left you see south of, I believe, you know, it's kind of frightening. Last live pictures we saw 495, and that was heading out at 495 north up in the Chelmsford area. With heavy rain there.
Let's talk to the fire chief from Agawam. This is Alan Soroyce, who is calling into us. And Chief, thanks for taking the time. We've seen some pictures of some of the damage that you experienced, but overall, what's your impression of how things are looking there now?
Right now, the weather seems calm. It seems like the event that happened at approximately 12:30 this afternoon has passed. During that time, there was some significant heavy rainfall. We did have a wind event of some type. Can't say exactly what it was, but a significant wind event in which there were several significant tree damage, trees that were falling down on vehicles, and some lines that were coming down, as well as some minor structural damage in the area.
Chief, you've not had any word of any injuries in your area around Agawam?
Correctly. In our jurisdiction, we had no reports of injuries as a result of the event.
That's good. That's good.
Good. Well, that's out of there, it looks like, as the chief is telling us at the Agawam Fire Department. It's looking more benign than it was. The action is north of Boston, and we're seeing some funnel cloud activity was spotted at South Peabody, Salem about 15 minutes ago. But again, a funnel cloud is the circulation of the air not touching the ground. No reports of anything touching the ground in that area north. And again, this is some of the action. That was Springfield, that particular roadway we saw a few seconds ago with our live radar right now. It's amazing to watch all of this and how it developed today. As you can see it sweep in, and then one after another. We've had 3 separate warnings.
Yeah, and of course, you know, it's a good thing. Of course, Six Flags is in Agawam. A lot of kids, as soon as they're out of school, that's the first place they'll ask to go. And so it's good news from the chief that there were no injuries there. We have seen these pictures of what most communities so far have reported: heavy winds, torrential rains. As Todd says, no ground truth of any funnel cloud touching the ground, but there have been reports, as you pointed out, Jack, in Beverly, Danvers, that stretch of some rotation aloft. Nothing that has touched the ground, but the potential is there. No one has talked about any injuries at this point, and just some street flooding here and there.
Yeah, what this latest one has about 15 minutes to go to the warning. The warning on the other, we'll get with Todd. We're giving him a little break so we can run in the weather department and get the latest. Again, okay, some of our, you can see heading north. You can see the sign for Plastow, New Hampshire. That's Haverhill now, as we're seeing. Boy, these rains are coming down. Has this been one of the, I don't know, maybe my memory's just getting waterlogged. Todd, what have you found out? What's the latest from your, we're giving you a little break here, so bring us up to date.
Sure, yeah, we were just back in the weather office evaluating both of the cells. There's still a warning on that cell for another minute or so for Middlesex County, but the one of bigger concern, of greater concern, is up in the Cape Ann area, again, in Essex County, a storm that just came through Beverly and also in Peabody, and there was a funnel cloud spotted by a trained weather spotter from the National Weather Service. So we know that these storms have been rotating, and now that we know that they're capable of producing a funnel cloud, they then could be capable of producing a tornado. As of this time, the only evidence of damaging winds that brought down trees and power lines has been out west in the Springfield area that we just showed you pictures of there in Agawam, for instance, and also in northern parts of Connecticut near Bradley International Airport, up along the 91 corridor and the Connecticut River in northern parts of Connecticut. Closer to home here for central and eastern Mass, there have been, I think, 3 now tornado warnings that have been issued. We've had funnel clouds sighted. We've had rotation in the clouds above us sighted, but at this time, no confirmed reports of a tornado touchdown. But with that said, with the funnel cloud sighting, you know that one could form, or one is imminent, or one could be on the ground. So we need to take this seriously because it is a dangerous cell, and it's still capable of producing a tornado. Right now, the cell that we're talking about just came through Beverly, just came through Salem, and is now moving into Manchester by the Sea. It actually just went over Endicott College back in Beverly here. So we'll find out some more information as it moves along Route 127. Route 127, if you don't know, kind of hugs the coastline and then curls up around the rest of Cape Ann and then moves on over towards Essex and then ends right there. But it's a beautiful road. If you get a chance, take a turn on it because it'll take you through all these beautiful coastal towns, just not on a day like this where we have these dangerous storms coming down. So here it is right now. The north side of the cell is in Essex, torrential rain, not much hail with these storms. The atmosphere is very, very warm. If hailstones are forming or have formed, a lot of them are melting before they get to the ground, and if any do survive that trip from the cloud down to the ground, it's only going to be probably pea-sized hail, very small hail. So we're not looking at damage from hail, but we're concerned with damage from gusty winds of either straight line or chaotic that you'd get from a tornado. The cell's moving to the north and east at 25 miles per hour, and it's bearing down on Gloucester now, moving through Manchester by the Sea. Of course, you have Singing Beach, another beautiful beach. There's countless beautiful beaches up here. Singing Beach is one of them, located in Manchester by the Sea. Looks like the south side of the storm, which is the dangerous part of the storm. If there were a tornado on the ground, it would be right down in here, right near Singing Beach right now. So hopefully folks have gotten off of the beach. I'm sure they have. They've seen the lightning off to the west. They saw the downpours, and they've had a couple of rounds already. So there probably weren't many people at the beach, which is great news. And then this will continue off to the east and move through Gloucester and then the rest of Cape Ann and then out to sea. There will likely be some sort of marine warning for this cell, too. When we had the other storm that came through the north side of Cape Ann about 45 minutes ago, marine warning went up for the coastal waters that kind of hug the coastline. Because there's a lot of pleasure boaters out here right now. Again, it's a vacation week. People want to be outside. And it was warm warm, it was humid, and there was a little bit of sunshine earlier on in the day. But now this cell, you can see the progression of it moving up Route 127, leaving Manchester by the Sea, and now going into Gloucester, and eventually Rockport, and then off to the east out into the open Atlantic. There are other cells back here. I don't think we have the warning on the other one now. Terry, am I correct? It expired. Great news for that cell in Middlesex County, the one that formed over Billerica and then moved through Wilmington and Reading and North Reading and clipped Andover with some torrential rain. Thankfully, the warning on that cell has expired, which is great. So the only warning we have right now is for this one right up here over Manchester by the Sea and Gloucester. And it looks like now it's actually starting to turn a little bit to the northeast. For a while here, it was running almost due east, went from Peabody and Beverly and Salem all the way up into Manchester by the Sea. But it looks like it might be turning just a little bit to the north and east. So kind of heading up again towards the north side of Cape Ann again on Route 127. So we'll keep an eye on that pretty closely moving forward. Again, the secondary concern with all of this severe weather, whenever you get these big cells, these supercells that are capable of producing tornadoes, they typically produce torrential downpours. We've already had that problem without the supercells, and then when you add the supercell into the mix, the rain is even heavier. And storm drains just can't keep up with that type of rain, the intensity. Some of the rainfall rates within any of these cells is probably 2, 3, maybe even 4 inches per hour. Obviously, it's not raining for the full hour, but still, that amount of water in a short period of time creates street flooding. And all of these major roads, these major thoroughfares, Route 1 going up through Saugus, we had pictures out of there. It's underwater right now, and it'll take a little time to recover with these storm drains to recover. We had pictures out of Fitchburg back on Route 2. There were a couple of cells that went up through Air earlier on this afternoon. That one probably produced some flooding and some flash flooding rains. And we had pictures coming out of Fitchburg with one of those major roads there underwater and cars trying to go through it. We do not recommend that you try driving through any roads that are underwater. So once again, here's the cell, tornado warning on it for another 10 minutes until 4:30. Right now it's 4:20, 10 more minutes on this cell as it moves through Cape Ann again. The second time we're in Cape Ann. Earlier it was the north side, Ipswich, on over to Essex. Here's Essex Center here, you know, all the beaches up in here, and then getting over towards north side of Gloucester and up through Pigeons Cove. Well, this one now is on the south side of Cape Ann, just cleared Route 127, and it looks like if there is circulation, it would be down in here. And then it's going to move up through Route 133 and Gloucester Harbor, and then move up through the Dogtown Commons, and then also up through Rockport. Again, torrential rain, probably a lot of lightning in this, cloud-to-ground lightning. I don't see so much hail with these storms because the air is pretty warm, but there's enough circulation here, and a trained spotter has seen a funnel cloud, so you need to take this cell and any of the neighborhoods downwind of it seriously, get indoors, get to a safe place. Once again, get to the lowest level of that building you're going into or the one that you're already in. Whether that's a basement or the first floor, it doesn't matter. Just get to the lowest level, because we say this for a reason. If there's a funnel cloud that hasn't hit the ground yet and it's just at the tops of the trees, if you're on the third floor of a triple-decker, you can see that floor get sheared right off, okay? So get to the lowest level, because if the funnel cloud hasn't hit the ground yet and you're on the lowest level, you'll be in better shape than anything or anyone that's up higher in the building or structure, okay? So get to the lowest level, get into a basement if you can. And please stay away from windows. Stay away from those exterior walls. Stay away from the doorways. Those are some of the structures that will get compromised first. A window will break, okay, and that glass flies through the air. That's not a good object flying through the air if there's a tornado on the ground. If you don't have a basement, which again is the safest place, get into that interior room like a closet or a bathroom or under a staircase. And when you go there, crank the volume on the television set. We'll be doing this for another 10 minutes at least, if there aren't any other cells that fire up before then, okay? And we'll walk you through this. And you can hear us better if the volume is up on the TV. And also when you go there, bring some blankets and bring some pillows. They've saved lives in the past. If there's a tornado on the ground, they will save lives in the future too, okay? At this time, no tornado has been confirmed on the ground. Let's get that straight. No tornado confirmed on the ground, but one is quite possible, or one is forming, or one has formed and lifted up. something like that. This is a dangerous storm that is showing enough rotation where there could be a tornado forming right now or one on the ground. So get indoors to a safe place. Once again, we're moving right through Manchester by the Sea, and now we're heading into Gloucester Harbor. Okay, and this is right along Route 127 and right over 128 as well. So this is where the circulation would be, right down in here. All right, here's Route 133. And then it's going to cruise right up through Pigeon Cove, it looks like, because it's moving a little north of due east. It's not exactly moving due east. If that were the case, it would move right out over here, but unfortunately that's not the case. It's not doing that right now. So it looks like it just cleared Singing Beach, which is back through here, all right, and it's now coming in through Gloucester Harbor. When it was back in Peabody and Salem and Beverly, there was a funnel cloud sighted. All right, there was a funnel cloud sighted, so we need to keep this a close eye on it because it is moving to the east at a pretty good rate. And there's still a little notch in here. You can see it right there. See that little notch? There's still some strength in this storm. There's still circulation storm. A funnel cloud or a tornado could form at any time. All right, so right now we're at 4:23. The warning is expected to expire at 4:30. It's still in place for parts of Gloucester and parts of Rockport. And as I kind of just widen out here, there's a little warning up in here for flooding. That green right there, that green polygon is for flooding. That was for Fitchburg. Remember Fitchburg? We had the pictures there of the flooding of the roadways there. So there's definitely some street flooding, poor drainage flooding. But aside from that, you know, there might be something forming right up in here, right up on 93. We'll have to keep a close eye on that. But aside from this one, where the lightning strikes are up over Cape Ann, it looks like we're starting to see a little better shape form here for much of eastern and central Mass. You know, there's this one little thing here that we're watching. Peabody's got some heavy rain again, and that's about to go over Manchester by the Sea as well. But right now we're over Gloucester. Here's that little appendage. This is Gloucester Harbor, and it's moving off to the east at about 25, 30 miles per hour. We'll be out over the open water very shortly, clearing Eastern Point Light very shortly at about 10 minutes, and then see you later. All right? So once again, if you're in the path of this storm, get down to that lowest level, get away from the windows, get away from the doors, and get away from those exterior rooms. Jack?
All right, let's, Paul and I are going to give you a little review of some of the video that we have, starting with... This is out in East Windsor, Connecticut. This is the only picture we have so far, I believe, of a funnel cloud. We don't know if this thing hit ground. I don't believe any reports came in. But that's what all of this turmoil has been about, is that one of those was spotted almost exactly like that, much more east and north of Boston. And there was some concern that it could hit the ground, but no reports that it did.
And then some photographs that had come in from Agawam of some damage. And we spoke with the fire chief just a few minutes ago, who said he had no reports of injuries. It was heavy rain and wind, but you can see some tree damage here. And we also have some street flooding. You can see the branches down. But the fire chief seemed pretty content that it had moved through pretty quickly, and that it was mostly this immediate street flooding and just some heavy winds. Yeah, it was good that that dissipated.
I think a lot of towns throughout Massachusetts have been, and Connecticut have been seeing just this scene with these rains coming down in the torrents today, in a day that started out kind of benign. Yeah. And all of a sudden, all kinds of stuff happened. This is a sports dome, what's left of a sports dome. Seems like a good thing to do when you're trying to save a buck. You just inflate some air and some plastic, and it's good until a storm hits. Well,
it's true, and as you said, that was the only image we've seen in East Windsor of that actual funnel-looking cloud, and you see the most significant damage there. But I have to say, in the hour or so that we've been on the air, hour and a half, the image of the radar behind Todd is much improved. This was some other tree damage that had come in from East Windsor as well, and good to see those red and orange supercells, as Todd had been showing us over the last few hours, really do seem to have dissipated somewhat. It was the Cape Ann area that seemed to be the biggest concern for a while. Then another warning back in Middlesex County and for Essex County as well.
Yeah, the one was going over Gloucester Harbor. Now, we have only just a couple of minutes left of this warning. You could still see it was rather significant heading up over Gloucester. but I'll bet it sure got an awful lot of people's attention. So this is going to be probably lifting in 3 minutes, Todd. You've been back. We gave you another little break so you could find some late information. Bring us up to date.
Sure, Jack and Paula. Yes, there's still some rotation on the cell. It isn't as strong as it was back to the west a few minutes ago, which is great news. But the warning is expected to expire at 4:30. We'll see if the Weather Service extends the warning. But regardless, it's going to be out over water very shortly in the next 10 minutes, 10 to 15 minutes. So it'll be out over the open water, away from land, away from homes, which is great news. Again, there was a funnel cloud spotted within this area when it was back over Peabody and Beverly and Salem. This is the area of concern where the rotation is, all the heavy rain to the north of it, up through Rockport Harbor, and then on up through Ocean View. So right now, the circulation is directly over Gloucester Harbor, okay? And then it looks like it'll hug Route 127. Route 127A as it goes up here. This is Route 127A, and then Route 127 goes up straight from Gloucester Harbor up to Rockport Harbor. So all the beaches are right in here. You know, you've got Good Harbor Beach and Long Beach, and then you have Land's End, which is right here. There you go. And then it heads out over the open water. So here is the circulation. We've got another couple of minutes on this warning. We'll, as soon as we get a word from the National Weather Service, if this warning is going to be extended or continued, we'll let you know. It's over Gloucester Harbor right now, then Good Harbor Beach on Route 127A, and then it'll go into Long Beach, also on Route 127A, and then Land's End, and then out over the water. There's still some exceptionally heavy rain up here in Rockport, Ocean View, back down through Rockport Harbor. In fact, if you thought it's heavy so far in Rockport Harbor, it's about to get a lot heavier. You can see the reds are just down the street from you. In minutes, it'll be just buckets and sheets of rain. So there will likely be some issues with street flooding, which has been a common theme here. We've had rotating thunderstorms, we've had funnel clouds. Back in Agawam, we had tornado touchdowns, and we've had countless reports of streets underwater and a couple that have been compromised also out in the western part of the state. So again, the warning continues for another minute or so. It just cleared Gloucester Harbor. Next up would be Good Harbor Beach, and then Long Beach, and then Land's End, and then out to sea. Okay, and at this time, this is the only area of concern at this time, aside from the flooding rains, of course. But there aren't any other cells right now that I know of. We just took a look at the radar. Any other cells out there that I know of that are showing signs of strengthening and rotating and capable of producing a tornado or a funnel cloud at any point. It's still just this one up here in Cape Ann for another, looks like 30 seconds. There you go. And they just dropped it. And I don't think that they may continue it just because it's got a clear Land's End, but at this time the storm has weakened a little bit, so we'll keep an eye on this one for the next couple of minutes before it gets out into the open Atlantic, and there may be a special marine warning that gets issued for this cell. You can see the lightning, the torrential rain, perhaps some gusty winds, and again, this storm was capable of producing a tornado. It still could ramp back up. A lot of these supercells go through these maturation processes, you know, where they cycle, okay? They get stronger, they weaken. They get stronger, they weaken, depending on the environment that they're moving through. This one right now seems to have weakened just enough so that the Weather Service doesn't look like they will continue on with that warning. So the warning has expired at this time in the state of Massachusetts. There are no tornado warnings at this time. There are no severe thunderstorm warnings at this time, just some flood warnings that we're concerned about at this time. And again, the flooding will be ongoing out here for parts of Cape Ann from Gloucester Harbor up along Route 127 to Rockport Harbor. That's going to be a tough drive, and there's still quite a bit of cloud-to-ground lightning. But that cell is just about offshore. Relatively quiet in Boston. Still some pockets of downpours back to the north and west, on up through Lawrence, and certainly some very heavy rain through Salisbury and Newburyport and Newbury itself, and down through Plum Island. Some rain back up through Nashua and Manchester, New Hampshire. Still some rain out in Fitchburg. They've had some issues with flooding out there earlier, so we'll keep an eye on that. But still, this is good. This is a good sign that most of the larger supercells that we had been seeing are weakening and moving off to the northeast out over open water. So we'll keep an eye on the situation. Join us in about a half an hour. We'll be up there at 5 o'clock with a complete rundown of what happened and what.
And Kent counties through this afternoon. A breeze along the coast is going to offer some relief. A lot of those early morning clouds are continuing to dissipate, and we just have lots of sunshine. These clouds and these rain showers are staying off to the west of us. If you're heading to the beach today, good choice. Temperatures in the low to mid 80s. Breeze out of the southwest at about 5 to 15 knots. Gusts up to 20 knots. Our safe sun time 15 minutes. You'll want to apply that sunblock very frequently. Our 4th of July official forecast again for the morning parades, upper 70s to low to mid 80s out there. Very humid outside through the afternoon cookouts. Temperatures will be in the upper 80s to low 90s, feeling even warmer, and a good night for the evening fireworks. It'll be warm and muggy with temperatures still around 80 degrees. Allie?
Chelsea, thank you so much. That's going to do it for us for now here at the studio. Doreen Scanlon, Karen Myers, John DeLuca, and Mark Curtis will take over our live coverage now. From all of us here in the studio, happy 4th of July, everybody. Enjoy your day.
Made in America. There was a time when the term was synonymous